I wore my favorite dress, thinking I still mattered. But when I walked into that dining room, there was no seat for me. She toasted her mother, and my son looked away like I wasn't even there. That was the moment I realized I hadn't just been forgotten. I'd been erased, on purpose. I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the soft lilac blouse Adam had once said made me look warm. My hands trembled just a little as I held Clara's Mother's Day gift, a delicate scarf I'd spent hours knitting in secret, even though I wasn't sure she'd appreciate it. "Ready, Mom?" Adam called from downstairs. I took a deep breath. "Coming." As I walked into the dining room, my heart skipped. 7 chairs. There were only 7 chairs. I blinked. There were always 8, always. One for each of us. I opened my mouth, but Clara was already placing cutlery with robotic precision. "Clara, where's my seat?" She didn't even glance up. "Oh, we needed more space for the food. Mom will understand." Nora, her mother, was already seated, draped in pearls, sipping champagne. I looked at Adam. "My seat's gone." He scratched the back of his neck. "Clara just thought it'd be easier." "For whom?" Clara stepped forward, brushing invisible dust off the table. "You're fine, Margaret. You can sit at the breakfast nook if you'd like. It's quieter there anyway." "The breakfast nook." My voice cracked. "I'm not a toddler." Clara turned to Nora. "Don't worry, Mom. You've got the best spot." "Oh, this is lovely," Nora beamed. "Everything looks perfect." I stood still, clutching Clara's gift like it was the only anchor holding me to the floor. Clara snapped her fingers. "Margaret, could you bring the rolls from the oven?" I didn't move. "Margaret." I finally blinked. "I'm not the maid." Clara's smile twitched. "No one said you were. We just need help." "I'm not helping. I was invited." Nora chuckled softly. "Let's not ruin the day over seating arrangements." I turned to Adam again. "Do you agree with this?" He looked at the floor. "Let's just sit and enjoy dinner, okay?" "I don't have a seat, Adam." Silence. Clara raised her glass. "A toast." Everyone turned to her. To the woman who gave me grace, wisdom, and strength. To the one who showed me how to be a real mother. To my one and only mom. Glasses clinked. Applause. My hands went cold. I stood there like a shadow. No mention. No eye contact. No acknowledgement. I set the scarf down on the buffet table without a word. Clara glanced at it, smirked slightly, then returned to her meal. Nora leaned over to kiss Clara's cheek. "You've outdone yourself, darling." Clara smiled sweetly. "Only the best, for you." Adam finally said, "Maybe we should have made room for everyone." Clara shrugged. "We did." "No, you didn't," I whispered. "You made room for her." "You erased me." Clara's expression darkened. "Don't make this about you." "It is about me," I snapped. "It's Mother's Day." "And you've been living with us rent-free," she fired back. "You've been helped plenty." "Helped?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean after I gave up my home to move in and care for your son, pick him up from school, clean your house?" Clara raised an eyebrow. "You're acting ungrateful." I looked to Adam again. "Are you going to let her talk to me like this?" He swallowed. "Let's just eat." "No," I said quietly. "You let me get pushed aside. Humiliated. Again." Judith's words echoed in my head. "You were never a guest. You were the servant in your own home." Clara sighed dramatically. "If this is going to turn into a pity party." I stepped back. "Don't worry. I'm leaving." Adam stood. "Where are you going?" "Out." "Anywhere but here." "You're blowing this out of proportion." "No," I said, my voice shaking. "I've been quiet for too long." Clara crossed her arms. "So now you're playing the victim?" "No. I'm finally done being one." I walked to the door. Adam followed. "Mom, come on. Stay. Please." I paused at the threshold. "Do you even remember what you gave me last year?" He blinked. I don't." "That's right," I whispered. "You didn't." Clara called out behind him. "Have a good walk, Margaret." I turned, looked her in the eye. "You'll regret this." She laughed. "For what?" Not feeding someone who doesn't pay rent. I smiled, bitterly. No. For thinking this version of me would stay silent forever. And with that, I stepped outside. The wind hit my face like a slap. Cold. Real. Liberating. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew one thing. Today, Clara cancelled my seat. Tomorrow, I'd start building my own table. I sat at the kitchen table that night, poking at the cold potatoes on my plate. Across from me, Adam scrolled on his phone. Clara chatted with Nora in the living room, their laughter drifting in like a cruel echo. "You're not eating," Adam mumbled. "I lost my appetite," I said. He didn't look up. Clara breezed in and placed a box on the table in front of Nora. "Happy Mother's Day, again," she said with a flourish. Nora opened it slowly. "Clara, it's beautiful." A diamond necklace sparkled under the light. "Oh, it's nothing," Clara said, waving a hand. "You deserve to shine." Nora pulled her into a hug. "I raised a gem." Clara laughed. "Only because I had you." I looked at Adam. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Clara turned to me next, almost as an afterthought, and handed me a plain envelope. I opened it. A printed card, "Happy Mother's Day." That was it. No handwriting. No signature. My fingers trembled as I slid it back into the envelope. "Thank you," I said softly, because anything else would have come out screaming. Clara took her seat. "So, Mum, what are you two planning for the cruise?" Nora launched into vacation details. I sat quietly, the card in my lap, the potatoes untouched. Clara suddenly turned to me. "Margaret, could you help clear the table when we're done?" I looked up. "Excuse me?" "You're just sitting. We thought you might help." "I'm not the help, Clara." She raised her eyebrows. "I never said you were. But that's how I'm treated. You're living here rent-free. You can at least contribute. I pick up Noah every day. I cook. I clean. And we're so grateful," she said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Adam cleared his throat. "Can we just get through dinner?" I turned to him. "Is this okay with you?" He sighed. "Let's not do this now." "No," I said. "Let's." "You let her erase me from the table today. You let her hand your wife's mother diamonds and give your own mother a blank card." He looked down. "It's just a card, Mom." "No, Adam. It's never just a card. It's every little thing that says I don't matter here." Clara stood. "If you're going to ruin every holiday." "I didn't ruin anything. You did." She crossed her arms. "We've been more than generous." I laughed bitterly. "You mean letting me sleep in your basement like a forgotten coat? You needed a place." "I needed respect." Clara turned to Adam. "Say something." He hesitated. "She's upset. Just give her space." Clara shook her head. "She's always upset." "I'm tired," I said quietly. "Tired of pretending I'm not being slowly erased." They didn't reply. I pushed my chair back. "I'm going to bed." "You didn't even touch your food," Adam said. "I'm full," I replied. On disappointment. I closed the basement door behind me and sat on the edge of the bed, the blank card still in my hand. The silence wrapped around me like wet wool. I reached into my old suitcase, pulled out a notebook, and scribbled. "You are not disposable. You are not a shadow. You are not a ghost in your own family." Tears blurred the ink. I needed to hear someone say it out loud. I picked up my phone and dialed Judith. "Hello," she answered. I didn't speak. "Margaret," she said, voice alert. "What's wrong?" I broke. "They erased me." "What did they do now?" No seat at the table. A blank card. "They gave her diamonds." Judith was silent. "Then, you were never a guest in that house." "I feel like a maid." "Because that's how they treat you." "I tried to be useful." "They used you." My throat tightened. "What do I do?" She didn't hesitate. "You stop shrinking. You remember who you were before you let them rewrite you." "I feel so small." "Then come here. Let me remind you how big you are." I cried harder. I thought Adam loved me. He does. But love without respect is just decoration. I looked at the card again. Blank. Hollow. Like me. "I can't stay here, Judith. I'll drown." "Then pack a bag." Come for the weekend. Would that be okay? It'd be necessary. I let the silence settle for a moment. Then, thank you. Don't thank me. Come reclaim yourself. Before we hung up, Judith added, one more thing. What? Next time Clara hands you a blank card, hand her a mirror. That night, I folded the card in half and tore it down the middle. Then again. And again. Until all that was left were pieces too small to matter. Just like they thought I was. But that was about to change. When I returned from Judith's house, I felt lighter. Not fixed, but less invisible. I stepped inside with a soft hello, unsure if anyone even noticed I'd been gone. Clara appeared at the top of the stairs, drying her hands on a dish towel. Oh, she said flatly. You're back. I nodded. Just for a few days. I didn't want to leave things messy. She gave a tight smile. Speaking of messy, don't be alarmed when you see your room. We had to move your things. I paused. What? The guest room's being updated. New paint, new carpet. You're in the basement now. More privacy. My stomach twisted. You didn't even ask. Clara shrugged. You weren't here. I walked past her in silence and opened the door to the basement. The air smelled of dust and laundry detergent. My things had been dumped in boxes by the water heater. A narrow cot sat against the far wall, barely made. So this is who I am to them. I sank down onto the edge of the cot and tried to breathe. But everything felt heavy. Cold. Forgotten. Later that night, I opened one of the boxes labeled Margaret, Misk. Inside were pieces of a life they no longer saw. A framed photo of Adam as a boy, grinning with missing front teeth. A crocheted blanket I made when Noah was born. A Mother's Day card from years ago. You're the best mom. I love you. Written in Adam's handwriting. I traced the fading ink with my finger. When did it all change? I pulled out my notebook again and stared at the blank page. Then wrote. You are not a pile of boxes. You are not a guest. You are not the past. I stopped. Crossed it out. You are not the problem. My pen scratched harder now, desperate. You raised a man. You buried your pride. You survived silence. You are not disposable. My hand trembled. I folded the page and slid it under my pillow. The next morning, Clara passed me in the hallway. There's a laundry basket downstairs. Could you fold it? I'm running behind. I blinked. No. She stopped. What? I said no. She raised an eyebrow. You used to help. I used to be silent. She scoffed. Don't get dramatic. I'm not dramatic. I'm done. She laughed, shaking her head. Did Judith put all this in your head? No. You did. That night, I sat alone with the photo of young Adam in my lap. The little boy who once cried when I left him at preschool. The boy who once told his friends I was his hero. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted that boy to remember me. But maybe he was gone. I picked up my phone and texted Judith. Can I come again this weekend? Just need air. She replied instantly. Doors always open. Bring your notebook. I smiled. Then opened my calendar and circled Friday in red ink. Freedom had a date. And I planned to meet it. Judith was waiting for me on the porch when I pulled up. She waved like I was a soldier returning from war. You made it, she said, wrapping me in a hug that smelled like lavender and coffee. I almost turned around, I whispered. Well, thank God you didn't, she said, pulling me inside. Tea's hot. Porch is yours. We sat under the awning as the late afternoon sun melted into gold. She handed me a mug. Drink. Then tell me everything. I stared at the horizon. They moved me to the basement. She froze. Excuse me. They said they were updating the guest room. No warning. Just dumped my things in boxes. Judith's face darkened. So now your storage. I nodded. Clara told me it was for more privacy. She means, out of sight, out of mind. I looked down at my mug. I don't know who I am anymore. You're Margaret. I shook my head. Margaret used to matter. You still do. Then why do I feel so invisible? Judith leaned forward. Because you gave your light to people who built curtains to block it out. Tears welled up in my eyes. What do I do now? You stop asking permission to exist. I laughed softly. How? One brick at a time. You've got skills. Talents. You know that, right? I shrugged. I used to garden. So. Right. There you go. No one wants that. I do, she said. Others will too. You're not the only woman who's been stepped over. I looked at her. You think people would come? To anything I start. I know they would. Especially if it comes from you. I sipped my tea. What would I even offer? You have stories. Hands that know how to mend things. A heart that kept loving even when it wasn't safe. But I'm not young. Exactly, she said. You've survived. That makes you priceless. I leaned back. Maybe I could start small. Good. Maybe a workshop. She smiled. That's my girl. I could teach sewing. Or maybe writing prompts. Call it what it is, healing. I nodded slowly. Healing in stitches. I love it already. I haven't led anything in years. Doesn't matter. You've led by surviving. I looked out over the yard. I'm scared, Judith. Good. It means you're waking up. I wiped my eyes. What if I fail? Then you fail forward. We sat in silence for a while, letting the porch creak beneath our feet. Then I said, I want to build something. Even if it's just for a few of us. She raised her mug. To new beginnings. We clinked cups. Inside that house, I felt whole again. Not polished. Not healed. But real. I pulled out my notebook later that night and wrote. You are not forgotten. You are not done. You are not buried. You are planted. The next morning, I circled a date on the calendar. 1 week. That's all I needed to start. The front door barely creaked when I stepped inside. I was hoping, foolishly, for peace. Clara stood in the kitchen, arms folded, a smug little smile already stretched across her lips. Well, she said, tossing a sheet of paper onto the counter. Look who finally decided to return. I set my bag down slowly. Judith asked me to stay a few extra days. Clara raised an eyebrow. Must have been nice. Relaxing. Meanwhile, the rest of us were here, keeping everything running. I walked to the sink, filled a glass of water. I wasn't on vacation. She slid the paper across the counter. That's this week's to-do list. Groceries. Toilets. Noah's school pickup. Oh, and the baseboards upstairs need dusting. I blinked. Excuse me. She tilted her head. Now that you've had your little break, it's time to earn your keep. I laughed. Soft. Bitter. Earn my keep. She shrugged. I mean, unless you're ready to pay rent. I pushed the paper back toward her. I'm not your maid. Clara's smile faded. You live here, Margaret. I won't be living here much longer. Is that a threat? No. It's a promise. She leaned in, voice sharp. You think you can just walk out and be fine? I already have, I said. She scoffed. You forget who supported you. Supported me? My voice cracked. You gave me a basement and a chore list. You had a roof over your head. I had silence under your feet. She narrowed her eyes. If you won't help, maybe it's time to go. I nodded slowly. Finally, something we agree on. Adam stepped into the room just then, still tugging at his tie. What's going on? She's leaving, Clara said quickly. Again. He looked at me. Is that true? I stared at him. She greeted me with chores, Adam. No, welcome back. No, how are you? Just a list of things I'm expected to do. Adam ran a hand through his hair. Let's not escalate this. I'm not escalating, I said. I'm deciding. He sighed. Can't we just talk it out? No, Adam, I said, calm now. We can't. Because we've been talking around it for years. You stood by while your wife erased me piece by piece. Clara folded her arms. You always make yourself the victim. I turned to her. You took my seat at the table. You handed your mother diamonds while I stood with nothing. You moved me to the basement like an unwanted suitcase. I was being generous, she snapped. You are being cruel. Adam stepped forward. Can we just, please, take a breath? I looked him in the eye.
You had every chance to defend me. And you didn't. He looked away.
I walked past them both, down to the basement. I didn't cry.
I packed. Deliberately. Quietly. With care. Each fold was a decision.
Each item, a declaration.
This was not a tantrum. This was an ending.
Upstairs, Clara was still talking.
I didn't care what she was saying anymore. Her voice had become background noise.
I zipped the suitcase shut and stood still.
Then I saw it.
The photo of Adam, age 6, wearing a paper crown I'd made for his birthday. I slipped it into my bag, close to my heart. When I came back up, they both turned.
I'll be gone by morning, I said. Adam looked like he wanted to say something. But he didn't. Clara just smirked.
You'll regret this.
I walked to the door.
I turned back once.
No, Clara.
You will.
And I meant it.
Just for a little while, I told Judith as she carried my suitcase inside. I'll find something soon.
She waved me off.
You're staying as long as you need.
Period.
The weight of her words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't heard stay as long as you need in a long, long time, without conditions or hidden costs. That night on her porch, we sipped tea in silence, the kind only sisters can share.
You slept? She finally asked.
For the first time in weeks.
Good.
Then let's talk about what's next.
I hesitated.
What if there is no next? She gave me that look, stern and soft at the same time. Then you make one. I'm tired.
I know. But you're not finished. I looked at the mug in my hands. I want to do something. Just don't know if anyone would care.
Margaret, when you stopped caring about yourself, the world followed.
But now you care again.
That's dangerous to them, and powerful for you.
I smiled faintly.
You always sound like you're reading from a speech.
She chuckled.
Then let's write a real one. Together.
We talked long into the night.
About my old sewing skills, my notes, my stories, the time I made an entire set of curtains out of repurposed fabric scraps.
Judith got this glint in her eye. Why not hold a workshop, she said. Teach women how to stitch.
Not just cloth, but self-worth.
I laughed.
I'm not some revolutionary. No, but you're someone with hands that still know how to make things. That's more than enough. The next day, she made a few calls. The local library offered a back room, free of charge. A week later, I walked into that library with a tote bag full of needles, thread, and trembling nerves.
Judith walked beside me like a bodyguard.
You've got this, she whispered.
We arranged the chairs in a circle.
I laid out fabric pieces on a folding table.
We waited.
5 minutes passed. Then 10.
Then the door creaked open.
A woman in her 70s peeked in. Is this the sewing group?
I stood. Yes. Come in.
I'm Margaret.
She smiled.
Linda. Then came Grace, clutching an old sewing basket. Then Mary, walking slowly with a cane. I haven't touched a needle in decades, Mary said, settling into her chair.
That's okay, I replied.
Neither have I.
They laughed. It was small, but it was real. We started with simple stitches, running seams, patching small squares.
The hum of thread moving through fabric filled the room like music. Linda looked up at one point. No one listens to us anymore. I met her gaze. Then let's speak louder. The next week, there were 8 of us. Then 12. Word spread, quietly at first, then louder. Women came with fabric, stories, tears.
Some came to stitch.
Others just to sit.
But all came to be seen. We called it the second thread.
The local paper sent someone.
A young reporter named Ellie sat in the back and watched.
The next day, the article ran. In a quiet room, discarded women are stitching themselves back together. A photo showed me helping Grace with a patchwork square. At first, I didn't know what to do with it.
Then my phone buzzed.
Margaret, you're in the paper.
Linda wrote. My daughter saw it and cried.
Judith read the article aloud that night, voice thick with pride. You're not just sewing, sis, she said. You're rebuilding. I looked around at our tiny kitchen table. It started small. Rebirth usually does.
I opened my notebook and wrote.
Today, 3 women smiled again.
Today, we stitched something invisible but strong. Today, I mattered. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting to be chosen.
I was choosing myself. Just for a little while, I told Judith as she carried my suitcase inside. I'll find something soon. She waved me off. You're staying as long as you need. Period. The weight of her words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't heard "stay as long as you need" in a long, long time, without conditions or hidden costs. That night on her porch, we sipped tea in silence, the kind only sisters can share. You slept? She finally asked. For the first time in weeks.
Good.
Then let's talk about what's next. I hesitated. What if there is no next? She gave me that look, stern and soft at the same time. Then you make one. I'm tired.
I know.
But you're not finished.
I looked at the mug in my hands. I want to do something. Just don't know if anyone would care.
Margaret, when you stopped caring about yourself, the world followed.
But now you care again.
That's dangerous to them, and powerful for you.
I smiled faintly.
You always sound like you're reading from a speech.
She chuckled. Then let's write a real one. Together. We talked long into the night.
About my old sewing skills, my notes, my stories, the time I made an entire set of curtains out of repurposed fabric scraps.
Judith got this glint in her eye. Why not hold a workshop, she said. Teach women how to stitch.
Not just cloth, but self-worth. I laughed. I'm not some revolutionary. No, but you're someone with hands that still know how to make things. That's more than enough. The next day, she made a few calls. The local library offered a back room, free of charge. A week later, I walked into that library with a tote bag full of needles, thread, and trembling nerves.
Judith walked beside me like a bodyguard.
You've got this, she whispered. We arranged the chairs in a circle. I laid out fabric pieces on a folding table.
We waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then the door creaked open. A woman in her 70s peeked in.
Is this the sewing group? I stood.
Yes. Come in.
I'm Margaret.
She smiled. Linda.
Then came Grace, clutching an old sewing basket. Then Mary, walking slowly with a cane. I haven't touched a needle in decades, Mary said, settling into her chair.
That's okay, I replied.
Neither have I.
They laughed. It was small, but it was real. We started with simple stitches. Running seams. Patching small squares.
The hum of thread moving through fabric filled the room like music.
Linda looked up at one point.
No one listens to us anymore.
I met her gaze. Then let's speak louder.
The next week, there were 8 of us.
Then 12.
Word spread. Quietly at first, then louder. Women came with fabric, stories, tears.
Some came to stitch. Others just to sit.
But all came to be seen. We called it the second thread.
The local paper sent someone. A young reporter named Ellie sat in the back and watched.
The next day, the article ran. In a quiet room, discarded women are stitching themselves back together. A photo showed me helping Grace with a patchwork square.
At first, I didn't know what to do with it. Then my phone buzzed.
Margaret, you're in the paper.
Linda wrote. My daughter saw it and cried.
Judith read the article aloud that night, voice thick with pride. You're not just sewing, sis, she said. You're rebuilding.
I looked around at our tiny kitchen table.
It started small. Rebirth usually does. I opened my notebook and wrote. Today, 3 women smiled again.
Today, we stitched something invisible but strong. Today, I mattered.
And for the first time in years,
I wasn't waiting to be chosen.
I was choosing myself. I was setting up fabric for the morning session at the library when I heard it. Mom. I turned. Adam stood in the doorway, looking older than he had a month ago. His shirt was wrinkled, tie loosened. He was holding a paper coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping him upright. I stayed still.
You found me. He stepped inside.
I wasn't sure if I should come. You weren't.
He gave a weak laugh.
Fair enough. The room was quiet, empty but for us. My hands were still resting on the spools of thread. Clara lost her job, he said after a long pause. They said the article made her a liability. Bad optics.
I nodded.
Actions have consequences.
Nora moved out. Went back to Tampa.
Said she was tired of being judged in grocery aisles. I imagine that's exhausting.
He looked up, finally. Can we talk?
I'm listening.
He pulled out a chair but didn't sit.
I didn't know it was this bad. You didn't want to know. I didn't know how to handle it.
You didn't have to handle it. You just had to see it. And say something. He winced.
I was trying to keep peace.
You kept her peace, I said. Not mine. He looked down at the floor.
I thought I was protecting everyone. You protected your wife's feelings. Your mother's were collateral damage.
He sank into the chair. I didn't know what to say.
You didn't need the perfect words. Just one would have been enough. Stop.
You never said it. I regret that. I sighed.
Regret is easier than accountability. He looked like a child again in that moment, small, lost. But I wasn't the same mother who rushed to fix it.
I'm sorry, he whispered.
For what?
I asked. He hesitated. For not stopping it.
For letting her push you down, move you out, treat you like staff.
I nodded slowly.
That's a start. I should have stood up for you. Yes. I miss you.
I blinked. You miss the quiet version of me.
The one who folded towels and stayed silent.
He looked up quickly.
That's not true.
I tilted my head.
Isn't it?
He didn't answer. I loved being your mother, I said.
But I won't be your cushion anymore. I won't soften the fall for anyone who pushed me.
He swallowed hard.
Are you ever coming back?
No, I said softly.
That version of me doesn't live there anymore. Can we start over?
I studied him. He meant it. But meaning something doesn't erase the bruises.
I don't hate you, Adam. I just don't owe you my silence anymore.
He nodded.
That's fair.
We sat in silence.
Can I come see one of your workshops? He asked. Maybe. One day. Clara says I chose you over her.
I laughed once. You chose silence over both of us.
Don't twist the narrative now. He closed his eyes, breathed deep. I want to be better. Then be better for Noah.
He flinched.
He misses you.
I know.
Later that night, my phone buzzed again. One new voicemail, Clara.
I didn't want to listen. But I did. Margaret, she said, voice brittle. I hope you're happy. You made us look like villains. You ruined everything.
Are you proud of yourself?
Delete.
No hesitation. No tears.
No apology.
Just venom. 5 minutes later, a text appeared.
Noah, Grandma, I miss you. Mom says I shouldn't text you. I don't care. Are you okay? I replied instantly. I'm okay, sweetheart.
I miss you too.
I'm always here for you.
Noah.
You're the bravest person I know. I clutched the phone and exhaled.
That boy, he saw me.
Even when the adults didn't.
Judith came out from the kitchen, drying her hands. You good?
I nodded.
Adam came.
She raised an eyebrow.
And? He said sorry. Did it sound like sorry?
Not enough to move back in. She smiled.
Then you said the right thing.
I sat down on the couch, phone still in my hand.
I didn't expect to feel this steady. That's because you've stopped waiting for someone else to hand you peace. I looked out the window, thinking of all the years I kept quiet to keep the family from crumbling.
Never again.
From now on, anyone who wanted access to my life would have to earn the key. The hall smelled like fresh lilies and warm bread. I stood near the entrance of our community center, the same one where we once sewed in a quiet back room.
Today, that room couldn't hold us.
The whole building was filled. Tables lined with hand-stitched quilts, flower arrangements in coffee tins, laughter echoing through open windows. Women in dresses of every color, every age, sat shoulder to shoulder, eating lemon squares and talking about things that mattered. No one here had been bought with diamonds or measured by how quiet she could be. Judith brushed past me, pinning something to the wall. Well, what do you think?
I turned to look at it.
A wide white banner stretched across the front of the stage in big hand-painted letters. Second chances for second mothers.
My throat tightened.
You okay?
Judith asked. I nodded.
I remember when I didn't even have a seat at the table.
She smiled. And now you own the table.
The room quieted as Linda stepped to the mic if I could have everyone's attention.
Chairs shuffled. Forks clinked.
We are here today to celebrate overlooked mothers. The ones who raised children who forgot. The ones who stayed standing after being shoved aside. The ones who made love out of very little, Linda said, her voice shaking. And we are here because one woman reminded us that invisibility is not destiny. She turned to me. Margaret, would you join us? Applause started before I even moved. I climbed the few steps to the stage, heart pounding louder than my shoes on the wood.
I looked at the banner again. Second chances for second mothers. I took a breath.
Last year, I began. On Mother's Day, I was handed a blank card.
The room went still. No seat. No thanks. Not even eye contact.
I was background noise in a house I helped build.
Heads nodded. Some eyes closed. A few women wiped away tears. I thought I was alone. That maybe I'd done something to deserve it.
That maybe love had an expiration date. A murmur of heartbreak spread through the room like a breeze.
But then I remembered something, I said.
I remembered that love, real love, doesn't erase.
It remembers. It holds.
It makes room. Claps, soft and slow, began to build. I was erased last year. This year, I celebrate every woman who rose after being silenced, who stitched herself back together one thread, one word, one breath at a time.
The applause surged, louder now. This isn't just a gathering, I said. It's proof. Proof that discarded does not mean done.
That quiet doesn't mean weak. And that the ones pushed to the side can still stand at the center, stronger than ever.
A standing ovation. I stepped back from the mic as tears streamed down my face. Judith caught me in a hug as I came off stage. You did it, she whispered. No, I said.
We did. As the celebration carried on, I walked from table to table.
Women pressed thank you notes into my palm.
One woman, eyes full of tears, whispered, "You told my story before I could." Another said, "I used to pray someone would see me. Today, you did."
Then, buzz. My phone lit up. Noah, Grandma, I saw the video. I'm so proud of you.
They played it at my school. My breath caught.
I replied, "You are the real gift, Noah. Never forget that. I love you always." He replied instantly,
"I love you too."
I sat outside as the sun dipped low behind the trees.
The doors to the center remained open, laughter spilling out into the golden air. A year ago, I was told there was no room at the table. Today, we built a new one, longer, wider, louder.
And I was no longer someone's leftover.
I was someone's leader. 3 months later, I sat at the edge of the garden outside the community center, hands in the soil, planting marigolds with Grace and Mary. The air smelled like damp earth and lemon balm.
The sewing room windows were open behind us.
Laughter floated out, soft and strong.
"How's it feel?" Mary asked, patting the soil beside her. I glanced at her. Peaceful.
Like something finally stopped spinning.
Grace nodded.
"You're not running anymore."
I smiled. "No.
I'm planting." That morning, we'd received an envelope from the city.
Inside, a grant check.
Not huge, but enough to keep our workshop going for another year.
Enough to expand. Maybe even get a real sign for the building. I folded it into my notebook with reverence.
When I stood to stretch, I noticed someone across the street.
Adam. He stood beside his car, holding Noah's hand. I straightened. Mary and Grace went quiet, giving me space. I walked to the sidewalk. Noah broke away and ran to me.
"Grandma." I dropped to my knees, hugging him tightly.
"Hey, sweetheart." He stepped back, pulling something from his backpack.
A drawing, me at a sewing machine, with smiling women around me and a banner overhead. "My grandma helps people feel strong again." I stared at it, tears rushing up. "You drew this?"
"For school.
We had to pick a hero."
I kissed the top of his head.
Adam approached slowly. He insisted we come.
I stood.
"You didn't have to."
He looked at the center behind me.
"It's bigger than I expected."
"So was the silence," I replied. He nodded. "I wanted to say thank you for letting me try again." I tilted my head.
"You're trying."
"I've started counseling.
Clara and we're taking space." "That's good." "She still doesn't get it." "She might never."
He looked down.
"I let her erase you."
"And now?" I tell Noah about the things you did for me.
I don't let him forget.
I exhaled.
That's a start.
He stepped back.
Would it be okay if we came to the next event? I looked at Noah, still clutching his drawing like treasure. You can come, I said softly. But only if you come as students, not saviors.
Adam nodded. Fair.
They left a few minutes later. Noah waved until the car turned the corner.
I walked back to the garden. Mary handed me a trowel. Hard conversation? She asked. I shook my head. No. Just an honest one. We planted the last marigold in silence.
Later that evening, after everyone had gone, I stayed behind to lock up. I wandered back into the room where it all began, just a circle of folding chairs and scraps of fabric once stitched by trembling hands.
Now, it was more. A sanctuary.
A revolution.
On the far wall hung something new.
A framed quilt square from our first session.
Stitched into it in gold thread were the words.
She built a table no one could cancel.
I ran my fingers along the fabric. This was never about revenge. It was about remembering. Remembering that I mattered. That we all do.
As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't know.
Hi.
I'm Elise.
My daughter saw your article. I haven't spoken to her in years. She called me today.
Thank you for reminding her I exist.
I clutched the phone to my chest. One story.
One voice.
That's all it took. I locked the door behind me. And stepped out into the night. Light spilling from the windows behind me. Like the quiet kind of justice. That doesn't shout. But stays.
If this story touched something in your heart, tell me your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that speak what others stay silent about. You'll find links to our most powerful videos right